Chapter 2. Man in an M65. Louis Lubertazzi Jr. walked out of the apartment building where he still lived with his parents and stopped at the top of the stoop, his hair still wet from the shower he took that morning. It was about 9, and rush hour was over, and all the kids were in school. The only people on the street were Mrs. Tunderoth and the old lady Miss Pellegrino from his building. Miss Tunderoth was walking to her building across the street with a bag of groceries. She looked over and saw Louis and put on a smile. Louis smiled back and waved to her with an open hand and said in a quiet voice, "Hello there, Miss Tunderoth." Miss Tunderoth had been a friend of his mother since Louis was a kid, and watching her walk into her building wasn't a bad way to start the day. After Miss Tunderoth vanished into her building across the street, Louis waited at the top of the stairs for Miss Pellegrino. Miss Pellegrino lived in the building as long as anyone could remember. She told Louis's mom that when she and her husband came to this country from Italy, it only took a few days for her to find the apartment in that building. Mr. Pellegrino died several years ago, and when that happened, someone said that the landlord lowered her rent so she could stay. When she got to the stairs to the building, Louis opened the door for her. "Good morning, Miss Pellegrino." "Buongiorno, Luis." Miss Pellegrino looked up at Louis. She was only 5 feet tall. "Grazie." Louis closed the door behind her. Then he walked down the stairs and over to his car and got in. He started it up and let it idle for a minute to let the engine warm up. He checked the passenger side mirror for traffic, then pulled out of the spot and drove to the stop sign and made a left. Louis stuck his head out the side window of the car far enough to look forward down the street. The wind slicked his hair back, and he figured the cool breeze might even help avoid wrinkles. When he came to the red light, he stopped the car and pulled his head back in. He got a comb from the glove compartment and combed his jet black hair straight back until there was not one hair out of place. He hung his hand out the window and grabbed the side view mirror and pulled it in to check his work from ear to ear. He pushed the mirror back into place and put the comb back in the glove compartment. Then he made a right turn. He drove down the street with his arm hanging out the car with a couple fingers holding onto the mirror, occasionally letting go to catch the wind with his hand, riding it like an ocean wave. Louis saw Johnny Marino, who he knew from high school. Marino always needed to borrow money, but never missed a payment. Marino waved as Louis drove by, and Louis acknowledged him by pointing his hand with the thumb, index, and pinky fingers extended and saying, "Johnny, I don't know why you always need money, but you always pay me back, points and all. You're all right with me, kid." It was Monday morning, and Louis approached a four-way intersection. At the far corner, a bus had just led off 2 women and a man. The man wore one of those bulky olive-drab M65 field jackets. The bus pulled away from the bus stop and made it through the intersection just before the light turned red. Louis stopped the car at the red light and watched the bus pass by. At the far corner where the people were led off was an auto repair shop. The woman walked down the street past the shop, and Louis watched the man in the bulky field jacket walk across the repair shop lot and over to the building. The man went into the door next to one of the closed bays. Louis stared at the door. The man went in and said, You look familiar, buddy." When the light turned green, Louis drove through the intersection and past the repair shop. He made a U-turn, parked the car about a half block from the corner, and turned off the ignition. He adjusted the rearview mirror so he could see if anyone might be walking up to his car from behind. Louis sat there and watched the repair shop. The shop had only 2 bay doors and 1 regular door just next to one of the bays, with a sign above it that stated, "Employees only." In the corner of the building was the shop's office, with large pane windows on either side of the corner. Anyone sitting in that office could see anyone coming if they wanted to look, but there didn't seem to be anyone in the office. In the corner of the lot closest to the street was a sign. Louis read the name on the sign out loud. Mr. Car Repair. Other than the fact that the man in the olive-drab jacket went into the door next to the bay, the place looked closed. The bay stayed closed, and no one went in or came out of the building. Louis sat there and watched. It took about 10 minutes for the man in the jacket to come out of the door next to the bay, and Louis got a good look at him this time. "I knew I recognized you, you sneaky little prick." The man in the bulky jacket was the dope dealer Louis and Pug loaned money to, the dealer who works out of the motel parking lot south of the airport. Louis said out loud, "What, your car's not ready?" "No, You didn't come here to Mr. Car Repair to get your car fixed." The dealer walked back to the bus stop and waited for the bus. Louis continued, "That's why you wear that old bulky jacket, isn't it? I can't tell if you have a car alternator under there or a pound of dope." Louis watched the dealer. "Looks like it's time to get the bus back to work, huh, buddy?" 5 minutes passed and the bus pulled up and the dealer got on it. The bus took off, headed in the direction of the airport. Louis sat there thinking aloud. Let's see. A dope dealer with no car takes the bus to an auto repair shop. He spends all of 10 minutes inside, doesn't pick up a car, and gets back on the bus. Now, what do we think is going on here? Louis sat there a while, then answered his own question. I don't think Mr. Car Repair is an auto repair shop at all. Nope. I think Mr. Car Repair is really a dope distributor. Buddy, you just led me to the goose with that golden egg, and I think, Louis paused, I think I want to hit Mr. Car Repair for all the eggs he's got. How do you like that? Louis scrambled around the car looking for something to write with and said, Clear my schedule, Mary. Whatever I have to do this morning, it can wait. I got to watch Mr. Car Repair. Louis pulled out a small notebook and pen from the glove compartment. He tore a page out and wrote down the day and time he saw the dealer go into the auto shop. More people came into the auto shop, and he made a note of each one of them in the notebook. He talked to the notebook, stating everything he wrote down. He wrote down every person who went into and came out of that auto repair shop. This went on until about 1 in the afternoon, watching the auto repair shop, taking notes, and talking to Mr. Car Repair. He added up the people going into the shop, and he had in his notebook that 13 people went into the shop without bringing a car in or taking a car out. None of them stayed more than 10 minutes. He had a note that said that they all looked like a bunch of dope dealers. There was one last thing Louis penned in heavily in his notes. Pug. After that last entry in his notes, Louis tore out the piece of paper and put it in his pocket. He adjusted the rearview mirror back to its normal position and started the car and looked carefully for traffic. Louis said one more thing as he pulled out into the street. He said, Pug's gonna love this.